Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. On this channel, we discuss day-to-day problems people face in their lives. Let's start with the video. My 35 female parents, 76 male, 77 female, were pretty abusive to me. They treated me like a slave and made me do all of the work in the house, washing the car, washing everyone's dishes, tidying up everyone's rooms, etc. While my siblings didn't have to do anything. The reason? I was an atheist and the rest of my family were devout Christians. They also had the habit of destroying my stuff and beating me whenever they felt like it. And once they sold my laptop because I said I had a bad day. They let my siblings torment me for years. My little sister would deliberately break my things and ransack my room and just get away with it. My older brother would frequently steal jewelry from my parents and when he got caught, blamed it on me. As he was their golden child, they naturally punished me instead and took hundreds of dollars from my bank account as punishment. Needless to say, I got out of that house quickly, not that I had a choice. They kicked me out as soon as I turned 18 and moved 2 states away, Australia, just to get away from them. A few years later, they moved to the US, specifically Kentucky. I didn't hear much from them, but even after I moved, got kicked out, they still told me they should have aborted me as well as some other hurtful things. Recently, some tornadoes ripped through Kentucky. My parents live there. I'm sure you can see where this is going. Anyway, just yesterday, I got a frantic phone call from my father, explaining that their home had been severely damaged by the tornado. Apparently, half the house was missing, and my mother begged me to let them stay at my house for the meantime. I instead suggested that we discuss it over Zoom call because of Omicron. They agreed and we started the Zoom call. They were staying in a hotel with internet. Basically, they said that I should help them because blood is thicker than water and quoted a lot of other proverbs. When I asked how long they were to stay for, my parents said that we would discuss it when they moved in, ignoring the fact that Omicron was and still is running rampant and that I lived in another country. I had no intention of letting them stay with me and told them that I would never let them back into my life after what they had done to me when I was young, and told my father that I hoped he and his posse of religious nutjobs all die in poverty. My mother broke down crying and my father said that I could at least give them some money, and I told them that I wouldn't give them a cent and told them to F off. They left the call but made sure to tell me that they couldn't believe I was still bitter over past incidents and said they expected more of me. My siblings and extended family have all been nonstop texting me, calling me a wickhead, and telling me to get over my childhood and move on. My parents have been blowing up my phone, calling me a petty witch. When I vented to my friends, they told me that I shouldn't have insulted them. Am I the a-hole for not helping my parents? Not the a-hole 100%. They were abusive and went back into your life just to use you, your house, and your money. Good job on not letting them back in. And I'd suggest you try to ignore those rude texts from your other family members, since they either don't know the whole story or are not on your side or want the best for you. Not the a-hole. First of all, I don't think you were unfair to them. Frankly, if anything, you were restrained in your feedback, and anyone in your family telling you to let go of the past needs to not be contacting you. I'd be pretty clear that you will never discuss this with any of them. They're free to send your parents money, but not you. Tell your parents you expected a lot more from them your whole life, so welcome to the club. Good job building a life without them. Don't let them back in. Not the a-hole. Blood of the coven is thicker than water of the womb. Essentially meaning that the but we're family argument doesn't necessarily carry much weight. They abused you, emotionally and mentally. Not to mention stole what sounds like a lot of money from you. Neither of these things are ever okay, no matter what their relationship. I can't even imagine what it feels like to not have my parents, and that's probably why your friends told you what they did. They can't possibly imagine what it's like to have such abusive and awful parents, so you clearly must be either over-exaggerating or flat out lying in their eyes. I hate to say it, but I wouldn't put too much thought into your friends' opinions on this one. People who haven't had childhoods like you will never likely understand the true extent. As for your parents, if you can, I'd block them and proceed in your life without them. You'll be better off mentally, emotionally, financially, etc. But that will always be something easier said than done. Next story. I, 25 female, am having a moral dilemma with my sister, 45 female, and her husband, 37 male. My sister, we'll call her Tina, around 7 years ago, met and started dating her now husband, we'll call him Greg, and none of us, her other siblings, like him. He doesn't treat my sister the way she should be treated, frequently speaking down to her and even insulting her looks or weight, and generally just being an a-hole to us, her family. Now to the current problem. They've been trying to get pregnant and have a child since they got engaged. They got pregnant on their own once, had a miscarriage around 6-7 weeks, and then never conceived naturally again. Back at the beginning of their relationship, I offered to donate eggs to them for free. After their miscarriage and further infertility issues, they started looking into IVF and approached me about my offer. I agreed to do it and went through the entire process. In the end, we got 30-ish eggs, 25 or so were fertilizable, but only one good embryo was left at the end. We were all devastated, and I was told I might be infertile. They transferred the embryo and did an implant, and then tried the whole process again with a paid donor, which cost around $8 to $10K. And once again, only got 1 or 2 viable embryos. Neither embryo took, and my sister did a bunch more testing procedures to try and conceive and was unsuccessful. Not too long ago, it came to light that part of their problem was that Greg was actively smoking weed when it came time to donate his sperm samples for the 2 egg donations. Despite being told by the clinic that he couldn't smoke weed or do any other drugs leading up to giving his sperm samples, our family was very upset to learn this because we already don't like him, and we see our sister killing herself physically and mentally to give him a biological child just for him to be unwilling to give one thing up to make the process work. Now, they're trying to adopt and have asked me and my husband, 31 male, our family, and everyone else to help them pay for it. My husband and I just had our first child this year and aren't rich by any means. The problem for me is that Greg has made comments to me about how my egg donation wasn't enough and that if I was a good sister, I would help support them. We haven't seen them since they put in the family group chat about wanting money, and I'm dreading the thought of seeing them because I know that they will bring up the fact that my sister paid for 2 of my semesters at community college and bought me a laptop for school, which they have told me that I don't have to pay them back. It's causing me a lot of anxiety because I know that Greg will not be respectful, gracious about asking, and my sister will cry and try to guilt us into helping them financially, which I'm not willing to do. We've received lots of passive-aggressive messages in the group chat about how this is all they want for Christmas. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You went through all the necessary procedures to donate eggs. As they know full well from their second round of IVF, you could have charged them $8,000 to $10,000 for being an egg donor. Your community college tuition and laptop have been paid for by the debt and then some. If they ask, just say you've already contributed to this cause and now need to focus on your own family. It's troubling that you're even questioning if you're the a-hole in this horrendously toxic situation. Greg is 1,000,000% the a-hole. He has been advised by the clinic not to do any drugs before the procedure, ignores their advice, then wants to blame you for not producing good eggs. Greg sounds like he's an insufferable, irresponsible infant who shouldn't be left in charge of a Cabbage Patch Kid. If they can't afford to adopt, then they can't afford to raise kids. Besides, if this is the way he treats his wife and her family, would you want to help give him access to a child that he can mentally manipulate and abuse? My advice, do not give them a cent. Not the a-hole. Giving them your own eggs was above and beyond what a good sister would do. They told you that you don't have to pay them back for school, so you don't have to. You donating your eggs and agreeing to let them potentially raise your child was more than paying them back, by the way. Say no firmly and tell Greg and your sister that you or your spouse will not discuss it any further. You can also let them know if they don't drop it, if they try to guilt you, or if they go to other family members to complain about you, then you will need a break from them. Next story. So I had a fiance, 24, and I just knew she was the woman I'd spend my life with. She was great in every way. Her and my sister clicked greatly and they became best friends, which was huge for me because my sister and I were best friends as well. So we'd go on double dates with her and her now husband. I found out my fiance was cheating on me and blew up on her. She cried and said the usual stuff, but I was destroyed and called off our engagement and broke up with her. She ended up getting in a relationship with her affair partner, which stands till this day. Afterwards, before I blocked my ex on everything, as I simply forgot, I saw her post on Facebook a picture of her new boyfriend happily hanging out with my sister and her then fiance. I got angry at my sister and told her I thought it was wrong for her to do that. I know that she's a grown woman, but I thought that she would be mad at her too, especially since we're so close. I mean, we're twins. She tried to explain to me that she loves me more than anyone, but that she cherishes her friendship with my ex and didn't want to let either of us go. I ignored her after that and she called me. We went back and forth, her trying to plead with me and me angrily refusing to see her point of view. I then told her, have fun with your new friendship. Don't contact me again. I'm done with you. And then blocked her and my ex on everything. Since then, I've moved from our old apartment and have gotten a new one and changed my number. My father and a few trusted friends have this info and have been instructed not to give it to my sister. My father had been telling me that my sister had been distraught and wanting to talk to me, but I was pretty adamant that I didn't want to. He obliged. Then she called me on my new number and told me she was getting married and that she would love for me to be there. I was ecstatic at first. Then I remembered my ex and asked if she and her new boyfriend would be there, to which she replied that she was going to be a bridesmaid and that the boyfriend would be there. I then told her that as of now, we're both only children, a little harsh, but I was angry, and hung up the phone and blocked the number. They're married now, but my dad tells me that they're visibly distressed and that he's afraid it will take a toll on her marriage. I don't want this to happen, but I'm in no way over any of this. I still feel betrayed twice and don't really want to see her at all. My biggest thing is that when she was cheated on by her college boyfriend, who I became friends with, I scolded him and cut him off and comforted her. But when I get heartbroken by my fiance and soon-to-be wife, she feels like it's okay to mingle with her and the guy who helped break us up. It's as if I don't matter, and although I love her to death, I feel a lot of hatred towards her right now. So am I the a-hole for telling her that we're only children from now on and completely shutting her out of my life? College boyfriend out of my life after I scolded him, by the way. Look, while it's true that you do not control her and who she's friends with, you control yourself and your actions. You asked her to give up her friendship with someone who betrayed you. She refused. You decided that you didn't want her in your life. The condition you've laid for her to be in your life is that she gives up your ex. She doesn't want to. Clearly, she values that relationship more than her relationship with you. Either that, or she's expecting you to come around to her way of thinking. As long as you stick to your guns and don't go around harassing your sister or ex, I think you're not the a-hole. She's allowed to make her choices, but then, so too are you. Not the a-hole. You were hurt and your sister was a hypocrite. Did she even get mad at your ex for cheating? She knew you wouldn't attend the wedding if your ex was there. Take as much time as you need to heal. Your twin should have been there for you and she wasn't. She seems to value that friendship over her twin. Not the a-hole. The amount of delusion in this thread is outrageous. His fiancée cheated on him, betrayed him, and ruined his life. And his sister, who supposedly cared about him, was okay with it. They're still friends, thus she's okay with the decision. Yes, she can be friends with the ex, but the original poster is allowed to choose who he associates with, especially since his sister has shown her whole ace. And people trying to say but family are garbo, and don't read half the threads in here about family being awful to each other. She's trash, the ex-fiance's trash, good riddance. Next story. Last year, my fiance's dad passed away and his wife wanted a slideshow of all the pictures they had throughout the years made for the wake. She requested that I do it since I work in IT. Doesn't mean anything, but you know. So I took pictures from all their photo albums and my fiance's sister suggested I go through their PC to find stuff. I did, and I found some images with some chick my age. I also found photos of receipts of trips and jewelry. From what I saw, it seemed like he had been having a long-term affair with this woman. This information seemed pretty damning, and I made the call to not tell my fiance, her sisters, or her mom. It just seemed like information that would serve no purpose but to hurt them. So, a year passed and a few weeks back, my fiance's mom was contacted by a woman claiming to have been the dad's partner and mother of his child. Now, when I found this out, I nearly crapped a brick because I knew she was probably right. This woman and her son started a ton of drama, and the wife refuses to give a dime of her husband's money to this woman and her son, and the woman is threatening to go to court over it. I tried to keep quiet about it, but eventually I felt like it should be said just so maybe the family could avoid going to court over this. I told my fiance what I saw and she flipped it on me. She called me a liar and an a-hole and just laid it into me. And then I told her that if we looked through the laptop, it'd be there. We did and she was shocked. She then went off on me again for keeping this huge piece of information secret. She told her family and now they all hate me. My fiance has been sleeping at her mother's house for the last few days and I look like an a-hole. Am I the a-hole? No a-holes here. I agree that at the time there was nothing to gain and only hurt would have been caused. There is a lot of misplaced anger here. They can't get mad at him, so they're taking it out on you. She isn't the a-hole either. She's upset and hurt and feels let down by her father and honestly by you. You were in a no-win situation. I've seen articles by therapists and even Dear Abby recommending not saying anything in these situations. So, I get why you wouldn't until you felt there was a reason to say something. Edit. Changed from not the a-hole as she isn't one either, just hurt and lashing out. If this guy was still alive and original poster discovered an affair, he'd definitely be an a-hole for not saying anything. But I agree that under these circumstances, it looked like there was little to nothing to gain. The one thing that makes me lean towards telling his fiance's mother-in-law and her alone, unless she wants original poster to disclose this to his fiance, is the risk of sexually transmitted diseases. And even then, it's only her that needs to know, and details aren't needed unless requested. Going against the grain and saying, no a-holes here. You were in between a rock and a hard place, and acted in the way you thought would hurt your fiance and her family the least. Others may argue that it wasn't your right to hide that info, but I also understand you wanting to protect your fiancée and the memory she had of her father, especially so close to his passing. How were you to know that he had a kid with his mistress and that this would resurface later on? No matter what you did, you would have been wrong. I guarantee your fiancée and her family would have gotten just as angry at you for telling them the news while they were grieving as they had for not telling them. My guess is that they're lashing out because the person who is actually responsible for this mess isn't around to blame. Sorry you're dealing with it all. You're the a-hole. I understand why you didn't tell me right away. It's hard to destroy the illusion of who they thought the man they loved was, but you should have told your girlfriend what you found sometime in the last year. She could have made the call if her mom needed to know too. It wasn't your secret to keep.